What's up, everybody? Today we're going to create the easiest peplum top of your life, no math included. Hallelujah. So what we're going to do is take our waist measurement with our tape measure and then form a circle. That's so simple. Just take it and put it on the fabric, and I'm working with some scraps that I had left over, and make a complete round circle. Now this scrap of fabric is just laid out flat. It is not doubled over. It's just one flat piece. And then I'm going to figure out the length I want the peplum part to be. This is going to be inside where your waist circumference. That's what that is. And down here is going to be the length you want the peplum to come down. I'm going to take mine out at least 7 inches. So I want to make sure I have at least 7 inches space, and if I don't, I'm going to move my circle down a bit. So I can have my 7 inches from there. So from there, all I am going to do is just make sure I have a couple things to assist me here. Just going to make sure my circle, and I'm going to trace around it. I did not add seam allowance to this because it has a good stretch to it. So I'm just going to trace around that. So I know you can't see it, but know that it's a circle that I have my measurements. Then I'm going to mark down how long I want it to go. And I want it to be 7 inches down from that circle. And pivot that ruler all the way around. Now once you've done that, go ahead and start cutting your After we cut out the circle, go ahead and trace over to make sure that your waist circumference is marked, because we're going to cut that out next. Up next, we're just going to go ahead and fold the entire circle in half and then cut the inner circle from there. So I'm cutting on the fold, but I'm going to cut out that inner circle. So now I'm just going to make the top. I'm going to stitch around and okay, our next step is to grab a tank top that fits you really well. This is all stretch material. So we're going to take a top, and on our folded over fabric, we're just going to fold it where our natural waist will fall. So you might want to grab your measuring tape. If you don't know, I know where mine is. And just put it where your natural waist is and fold the bottom of it up. And then we're going to go ahead and cut it out with a 1/2 inch seam allowance allowed in it. So cut it a 1/2 inch out. If you like your tops to fall a little lower than your natural waistline, just go down a couple more inches. Sometimes I don't like mine's right on my, I like it a little lower. So if you like yours like that, just go a few inches lower. Okay, so I'm going to take my back piece and just lay it to the side because I'm going to work on the front half of the top. So when I get the top, I'm just going to take it, fold it in half, and then I'm going to take my chalk and mark right up the middle point so I know right where the center is. Okay, our next step is we're going to take the front piece only. We're just going to pin it to the dress form. And I have my center mark right there where I've marked it when I folded it over. I am going to take my tape measure from the high shoulder point, because what we're going to do is we're going to make this thing a little sexy. We're going to put a little sheer panel in between there. So I'm going to take from my high shoulder point right there at the edge, and I'm going to come down to right underneath the bust. So for me, but on this dress form, I'm coming down about 12 inches right there. Do the same thing on the other side. Now high shoulder point. Okay, right here I'm just going to straighten out the lines that I made on the dress form. I'm going to use my curve ruler because women have busts. But if you don't have a curve ruler, just kind of eyeball it or do it with a straight ruler, whatever you prefer. Okay, I was going to make this pointed, but I think I'm going to go ahead and square it off because if I make it pointed, I have to cut down. And I'm not about that life right now. So I'm going to just bring it down right there and block it off instead of me. So now I'm just going to go ahead and cut out the section that I marked on the dress form and on the table. All right. So now we have our opening. Don't forget to work with the stretch of it because this stretches this way. So you want to make sure you're working with the side that stretches. This doesn't. This side does. This is a stretch mesh. So that's where the mesh is going to be sewn right into there. So what I'm going to do is that piece that I just cut out, that I threw somewhere, use the cutout from the top as your pattern piece, and also make sure you add a 1/2 inch seam allowance to the mesh, the sheer mesh thing too. Fabric, not thing. Alright, so now we're just going to cut this out. Like I said, add a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Kind of looks like a uterus, huh? Alright, let's get a little science class, a little sewing. Alright, nothing wrong with that. I hope you guys can see this, but here's the mesh part, and I laid it on top just to see. Because I did not, when I was making this, I didn't leave room for the neckline. It'll be way up under the neck, so I'm going to take that down some. Hope you guys can see this. Alright, so I'm just going to take off a little bit of the top so that neckline can come down just a little bit. So I'm going to fold it in half. Okay, because we got to insert this, so what we're going to do, where the square is, we're going to snip down 1/2 inch. So that we have this little peak that's open. And going to grab this part. And we're going to cut it. And then we're going to sew this little part right here first. Because when we sew it that way, when we bend it back, you won't be able to see the seam allowance. Yeah. So I have sewn it straight across. Right there. I put the right sides together so that when I fold it back, I'll be able to fold that little piece back, and therefore the seam allowance will be hidden. So now our next step is to sew the rest of it around. So I'm going to go ahead and... Okay, we're going to sew one side at a time because it's easier that way. So we're just going to take one side where it's slit at and pin it down and then sew it, and then we're going to do the same thing to the other side. Okay. And then when we sew that side up, again, the seam allowance will be hidden. So I'm going to sew. Okay. Now I have that side sewn in. I'm going to clean this up with the serger once I'm done. And I'm going to fold it over. But that's what it's going to start looking like. Now sew other side. Okay, I've taken it over to the overlock machine, and so now I'm just gonna fold over those edges and sew it. I'm gonna pin it and then sew it all along the bottom and up the sides to hide that seam allowance. Okay, we're gonna do one more step before we get started. I know I have the pins up here. I'm gonna take it off the top here because what I'm going to do is that circle piece that we took when we made, you know, the waist measurement. I'm going to use that as the I guess the strip that's going to go across here. So it's circular and this is circular, so I'm going to go ahead and cut off a piece of that. So what I'm going to do is just take it and just cut off a little bit off the bottom eyeball. I'm eyeballing it. I'm going to put the right sides together. So I'm going to just sew that real close to there. And after I sewed the little neckline strip on, I took it over to the overlock machine and cleaned up the raw edges, and then I'm just folding it over. I'm going to pin it in place and then sew it down. I'm going to make sure it does not show through the shear part in the front. Boom. So now we can cut off that little edge. And then what we're going to do is now we're going to go ahead and sew this part down. And we're going to hide this little piece right behind here. Alright, the next step is to go ahead and finish off those armholes and those necklines. We're going to roll it once and fold it over because I've already overlocked the raw edges. So I'm just going to fold it over once and sew this baby together. Okay, we're going to sew it down and then we're going to put the front and back piece together and sew it all together. Put our peplum on. Take that and we are going to put our skirt inside the peplum. You know what I'm going to do first? I'm going to do the four corner. So what I'm going to do is mark right here, mark that corner, mark this corner, then I'm going to match those two up. So once I match these two up, then I'm going to mark, just to help me, then I'm going to mark these two corners. So that's the four corners, and that lets us know where to pin it at. So do the same thing with the top and mark your four corners. Skirt right in, the top right in between there. So what you do is you match those four corners up by putting the top through the peplum and then right sides together, and then pin it, the top edge of the peplum to the bottom edge of the top. Pin it all around and then sew it all together, and we are basically done. Alright, here's the complete project, and I hope you guys like it. To me, it was one of the most simple ways to make it, aside from the little sheer thing in the front, but it was really simple. Alright, can't wait to show you guys. Bye. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.